Okay, let's talk about the big one, the degree project. You know, that final boss at the end of your university journey that can feel, well, just a little bit terrifying. If you are staring at a blank page right now, wondering where on earth to even start, don't worry. You are in exactly the right place.
Seriously, it can feel like you're staring up at the Mount Everest of your academic career, and the biggest question is just, how do I take that first step? The sheer scale of it all can be paralyzing. You might have a million ideas or maybe zero ideas, and the pressure is on. And hey, that's a totally normal feeling.
But here's the secret. What if I told you that every great research project, no matter the topic, follows one universal recipe, a structure that can turn that giant mountain of anxiety into a series of clear, manageable steps? And the best part? It works for everyone, whether you're in science, design, or the humanities. So today, we're going to crack open the cookbook.
Okay, let's dive right in. Before we can start cooking, every great dish needs a main ingredient. And in the world of research, this means choosing your core flavor or your style. This choice is going to define your starting point and the whole kind of story you're about to tell.
First up, we've got the science style. This one is all about pure, simple curiosity. You see something happen in the world, like Newton's apple, or maybe some weird optical illusion you saw on TikTok. And your brain just goes, wait a minute, why does it do that? Your whole project is driven by that burning desire to figure out the underlying reason why.
Next, we have the engineering or design style. Now, this one is all about solving a problem. You look out in the world and you see a need. Maybe a process is super inefficient, or a tool is just frustrating to use, or maybe a community just needs a better way to connect with each other. Your project is all about creating a real solution to make something better for actual people.
And our third flavor is the humanities style. This one is for all the detectives of meaning out there. You're not looking for one single right answer. Instead, you're on a quest to find new ways of seeing and understanding the world. You might dive deep into a historical event, a piece of art, or a philosophical text to uncover hidden meanings and offer a totally fresh perspective.
So what's really cool is how this all breaks down. Take a look here. You can see each style has a totally different starting point and flow. Science kicks off with curiosity and ends up creating knowledge. Engineering starts with a real-world need and opens up new possibilities. And humanities begins with context and gives us brand new perspectives. But here's the thing. No matter which path you take, the goal is exactly the same, to create new insight. Think of them as three different trails, all leading to the same beautiful summit.
All right, so you've picked your main ingredient. You know if your project is driven by curiosity, a problem, or a search for meaning. Well, now it's time for the recipe itself. This is the universal 9-step structure that's going to guide you through telling the story of your project. And here's the best news you're going to hear all day. This powerful, game-changing recipe, it has just 9 steps. That's it. 9 essential building blocks that are going to form the backbone of your paper, your presentation, basically your entire project. Let's break them down.
So the first 3 steps are all about setting the stage. This is the why of your project. Think about it. Before you can tell us what you did, you have to convince us why anyone should even care in the first place. This is your foundation. Get this right, and everything else falls into place. Step 1 is the background, and your job here is to hook your reader from the very first sentence. And as you can see, your research flavor really shapes your opening move. If you're doing a science project, you'll describe that fascinating thing you noticed. If you're an engineer, you'll introduce us to the person who's struggling with a problem. It's all about creating that compelling context.
Okay, step 2 is the infamous literature review. But let's stick with our cooking metaphor because it makes it way less scary. All you're doing here is looking at the existing cookbooks. What have other smart people already tried? What solutions or theories are already out there? You just have to know what's already been done before you can add your own new dish to the menu.
And doing that research leads you to maybe the most important question of your entire project. After you've looked at all that existing work, all those previous recipes, what's still missing? What problem hasn't been solved? What perspective hasn't been considered yet?
And that missing piece, that is step 3, the gap. And I want to be crystal clear here. This is the single most important part of your project's setup. The gap is the justification for why your work even needs to exist. It's that empty space in the world of knowledge that you and only you are about to fill. No gap, no project. It's that simple.
Okay, so you've sold us on why your project matters. Fantastic. Now you got to show us how you're actually going to tackle it. These next 3 steps are your plan of attack. They spell out exactly how you're going to fill that gap you just identified.
Step 4 is where you turn that big, kind of vague gap into one single, focused research question. This question becomes your North Star for the rest of the project. And check out how the format of the question changes depending on your style, from what mechanism explains for science to how can we redesign for engineering. The goal is always the same though. Give your project a crystal clear sense of direction.
Step 5 is just about stating your initial assumption, your best guess. Now, if you're in the sciences, you'll call this a hypothesis, a prediction you can actually test. But if you're in design or the humanities, it might be called a design intent or an interpretive stance. Honestly, don't get hung up on the words. This is simply you saying, okay, here's what I think is going to happen, or this is the lens I'm going to be looking through.
And step 6, your method, is super straightforward. It's just you telling us what you did. What were the exact steps you took to answer your question and test out your assumption? Did you run experiments in a lab, build prototypes, analyze historical texts? This part is all about being transparent, so other people can see, understand, and trust your work. All right, we've covered the why and the how. We have officially arrived at the final section of our recipe, the what. This is the payoff. This is the delicious meal at the end of all that prep. These last 3 steps are where you show us what you found and why it's a valuable addition to the world.
So, steps 7 and 8 are basically 2 sides of the same coin. Step 7, your findings, is all about what you discovered. The raw data, the key themes, those big aha moments. Then, step 8, the contribution, is what you did with those findings. It's the tangible thing you actually created, whether that's a new theory, a working prototype, or a fresh interpretation that adds real value.
And finally, we get to step 9, the conclusion. And I want you to really read this quote because it's a huge weight off your shoulders. A degree project doesn't need to have the final, perfect answer to everything. It just needs to be clear about what you achieved and where someone else could pick up where you left off. Your job isn't to solve the mysteries of the universe. It's to be honest about what you accomplished and to point the way forward for the next person.
So, let's just step back and look at the whole thing. If you follow this 9-step recipe, you are going to naturally cook up a project that has all the ingredients of great research. You'll have a clear motivation, a meaningful question, a totally logical method, and a real clear contribution to the world. See? This isn't just a list of instructions. It's a formula for success.
Because really, in the end, that's what this is all about. This 9-step recipe isn't just a structure for research, it's a structure for storytelling. You aren't just writing a boring academic paper. You're crafting a compelling narrative of discovery. So the only question left to ask is, what story are you going to tell?